We just completed this week the 3 weeks of mourning that lead to Tisha B'Av. We also completed Tisha B'Av. We mourned, we sat on the floor. We felt very deeply, particularly this year, the deep heartbreak that we have been carrying, particularly since October 7th, for the events then, and for all the events that have unfolded, both in Israel, in Gaza, in the Middle East, here. And now we are seeking to move on from Tisha B'Av. The Shabbat is Shabbat Nachamu, the Shabbat of consolation, which follows every year. Tisha B'Av, we read the words of the prophet Isaiah tomorrow morning in the 40th chapter. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, console my people. It's beautiful words. The prophet tries to console people after destruction and devastation, and these words resonate as we seek healing and consolation. And then on the full moon of Av, which will happen on Sunday night, and Monday we come to Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, a celebration of love and joy. And the Mishnah says there are no better or happier days for the people of Israel than the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur. This is from the days of the Second Temple. Since on these days, the daughters of Israel or Jerusalem will go out dressed in white and dance in the vineyards. What were they saying? Young man, consider whom you choose to be your partner. And there are many narratives and stories about what happened, the beauty of this day of Tu B'Av, the day of love and joy and celebration. And there are many reasons given for it. But one can think that if Tisha B'Av is like the day of a funeral, and then the week that follows the Shiva, then Tu B'Av is the day when we get up from the Shiva and when we resume life and we seek healing and consolation. The truth is, I'm not sure we are there yet. Now, how can we just move on? There's so much happening yet, and so much that is still broken, and so much pain, and the hostages are still in Gaza, and the war is raging. And the threat of revenge from Iran and from Hezbollah are still very much on the table, and so all the fears. So how do we move on? But I think this week there's a little bit of these days, a little bit of a ray of hope. I think, at least I speak for myself, I allowed myself to begin to think, what if actually the deal goes through and there's a ceasefire? What if the hostages come back? What if the war stops and the devastation in Gaza? What if Iran holds back and so does Hezbollah in Lebanon? What if there's an opportunity for not tomorrow, not next month, maybe not next year, but there's already a vision on the table for some plan for the Middle East? And here, there's also a ray of hope. What if, after all, democracy can be saved in our country? There is hope. There is what if. And what if, for us Jews, is a spiritual practice? What if is not just imagining, but being convinced and embodying the what if and moving into action, transforming this possibility into reality, working for it, committing to it. And in this week's Parashat Vayetchanan, the Torah proposes the greatest what if of anything, the greatest of anything in the Jewish tradition. That's the Shema Israel. It's in this week's parasha. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai our God, Adonai is one. So what's the what if? The what if is that we see everything fragmented, everything broken, everything separated, everything in conflict, one piece with another, one party with another, one country with another, one person with another, male against female, right against left. Everything is, Shema Yisrael says, what if everything is one? What if we could really actually feel deeply, deeply, connect with the deeper and deepest meaning of reality, which is that everything is one, everything is connected, interconnected. There's nothing but oneness in the world. God is one means that everything is part of the one. Here's something in our Siddur that it's on page 155. I'll read it for you. You don't have to flip the pages. By Rabbi Arthur Green. The core of our worship is not a prayer at all, but a cry to our fellow Jews and our fellow humans. In it we declare that God is one, which is also to say that humanity is one, that life is one, that joys and sufferings are all one. For God is the force that binds them all together. There is nothing obvious about this truth. For life as we experience it seems infinitely fragmented. Human beings seem isolated from one another, divided by all the fears and hatreds that make up human history. Even within a single life, one moment feels cut from the next. Memories of joy and fullness offering us little consolation when we're depressed or lonely. To assert that all is one in God is a supreme act of faith. And I call it the what if, a supreme act of what if. No wonder that the Shema, the first prayer we learn in childhood, is also the last thing we say, or we are to say before we die. So I just leave you with this concept of the Shema Yisrael as the deepest spiritual practice, most demanding, most difficult, but most rewarding, because when we all realize that we are one and that we're all connected and there's no division, because what we see is not what's real, because it's real, but there's a much deeper, much real reality at the foundation of existence. When we can live that and experience that, then we can find consolation and we can find joy. And so let's continue to inhabit the what if of the Shabbat Nachamu.